Hello to a little extra on Murdock's Music Minute. I sometimes go to live concerts, not very often, but when I go, I often like to talk about them afterwards. And this January gig that I intended is another such occasion, a bit of indie pop history live on stage. I had the pleasure to be at one of Edwyn Collins's very final shows. Please welcome Mr. Edwyn Collins. He has announced that he will stop his life as a touring artist. Thankfully, he also has announced that he will continue making albums as long as possible. So we can hopefully expect at least a couple more albums from Edwyn Collins, but he has stopped touring now. The reason for that, I think, for those who know a bit of Edwyn Collins's history, is quite obvious. A good 20 years ago, or even a little bit longer, he at a very early age suffered at least 2 strokes, I think, severe strokes that basically meant that his career as a musician was over at the age of about 45. But he really fought his way back into, well, not his musical life, but his way back into life in general. He had to learn how to walk again. He had to learn how to speak again. And of course, he also had to learn how to sing and perform again, which of course means Edwyn Collins used not only to sing, but also play guitar. This isn't possible any longer. But all this didn't stop him from doing a final tour in the UK and across Europe in selected venues. And to my great pleasure, he also chose Austria, and he even played 3 dates in Austria, which is quite unusual for a UK artist. But there is a bit of history with Edwyn Collins and Austria. Of course, know it all indie fans of early jangle pop know Edwyn Collins as the frontman and the singer, and I believe also main songwriter of the Scottish guitar pop band Orange Juice. Later on, Edwyn Collins in the mid-late 80s, Orange Juice split up and Collins started a solo career, which, however, didn't start very successfully. In fact, he was quickly dropped by his label, and for a while in the late 80s, early 90s, nobody really cared about the songwriter and the musician Edwyn Collins. But for some reason, one radio DJ, one radio editor in Austria still kept playing those early Edwyn Collins solo albums, and even promoted Edwyn Collins gigs in Austria, so that to this day Mr. Collins has a soft spot for Austria, the one country that sort of kept his meager career going until he came out with that one big hit. But more about that one a little later. This gig took place in Vienna at the VUK, It's a nice location for Austrian. In terms of Austrian venues, I would say it's mm, in the lower middle range concerning size. We don't have a lot of big venues for rock and pop concerts in Austria, to be honest. The VUC originally is, if if I'm not mistaken, it used to be a kind of a factory area in the city, and it still has this flair, this atmosphere. Lots of brick buildings that form an area. Nowadays, those buildings are used for various cultural projects, photo studio, courses, classes for adults, and a concert venue. The gig took place on the 29th of January in the evening. The venue was sold out, and it really was packed. I would say most of the audience were like 50 plus. I expected a bit of more younger listeners as well. I think my wife and me really formed the younger segment of the audience, but well, it's not very important actually. At the end of the day, good atmosphere, very relaxed, cheerful atmosphere in the audience, and there was a support gig as well. Namely, half the band, the Hanging Stars, usually a four-piece, but only two guys, accompanied Edwyn Collins and band as a support act. Yes, the Hanging Stars, apparently a London-based band who played a strictly acoustic set, two guitars, one singer, and also quite beautiful harmony vocals from the other guitarist, Richard Olsen, the frontman, and Patrick Ralla. This band apparently plays a kind of countrified acoustic Britpop. Some of their songs are quite Beatlesque, or yeah, what you would expect from a more acoustic Britpop or post Britpop band. Sometimes they also reminded me of the more jangly moments of bands like, for example, The Coral. But then they also have a strong Americana and slight country influence on other tracks or other songs. And in this acoustic duo setting, they also sometimes sounded a little bit like maybe a modernized version of Simon and Garfunkel. I was more than pleasantly surprised, to be honest. So much that I got from the merch stand one of their albums after the gig. It's this one from, I believe, 2022. Yeah, on this one, of course, you get the full band, so not just an acoustic duo sound. And this one also has a bit of a psychedelic vibe. I've read that they are sometimes compared to the more psychedelic phase of the Birds, and as mentioned before, sometimes I hear a little bit of more acoustic moments by The Coral. If you like this stuff, yeah, really, really good, very melodic, very, very good tunes. The Hanging Stars. But now, what about the main event? Edwyn Collins for the very last time live in Vienna. After he had to enter the stage by walking down quite narrow steps, it's a quite strange construction, the stage at the VUC, which he managed with a bit of help. The band started right off with the beginning. An old orange juice classic, Falling and Laughing. Overall, Collins' set concentrated quite a bit on his old orange juice material, especially from this album, which I also purchased from the merchandising stand that very evening. Then also quite a lot of songs of his hit album Gorgeous George were played, but he also did a few songs from earlier solo albums. But as mentioned, at least 50% of the setlist, I think, were tailor-made for the old Orange Juice fans. So we got Falling and Laughing, directly followed by Dying Day, played by a powerful and quite cheerful band. Apart from Collins, I realized that Patrick Ralla, who we had just seen before as part of the support gig, also was the guitarist, one of the two guitarists in Collins's band. And the other players were...
Howard Ellis on bass. He's Welsh. Yeah? And Patrick is German. Oh. Anything wrong with that?
Oh, we love it.
What an insult. Jake Hutton on drums. Andy Hackett on guitar. And lastly, Sean Reed on keyboards and saxophone. And possibly me, Edwyn Collins.
Yeah, so these guys obviously were enjoying what they were doing on stage, and they could competently do it all. The post-punk meets twee pop style and the slightly stiff funk influences in the old Orange Juice songs, the jazzy, laid-back indie pop of later Edwyn Collins solo songs, as well as at times really crunchy, loud guitar sounds. The one who I think enjoyed being on stage most of all was Mr. Collins himself. As mentioned, he was seated throughout the concert, or at least most of the concert. But already when he came on stage waving his stick, not only was this very impressive, but it really felt like a gesture of resistance against his own physical condition. So yeah, really impressive and actually quite inspiring. So after the first two Orange Juice songs, which already were fan favorites and created a kind of euphoric response from the audience, Collins then went on to play two songs of his most popular solo album, Make Me Feel Again.
That's what it's all about, is the way you turn your head when I called your name. All I need's your love to make me feel again. It's the way you turn your head when I called your name. All I need's your love to make me feel. Take it away, Andy.
And the title track of that album, the wonderful Gorgeous George.
And your holding court with the pearly king, right under your pillow balcony, this mockingbird will sing. Gorgeous George,
also played a couple of tracks from his latest album, Nation Shall Speak Unto Nation. Then The Wheels of Love, which I believe is from his maybe first or second solo album, so one of his earlier songs. That was quite a nice touch to have, a little bit of variety, and Edwyn Collins looking back at his more or less entire career. And then it turned out that Edwyn Collins not only was with a wonderful band, but also with family. Yes, both his wife and his son were present, and only then did I realize that they were the people running the Edwyn Collins merchandise outside the concert hall. But what was more, he also called his son on stage for the song In Your Eyes. And Collins Jr. Apparently is not the one who seeks the limelight or the one who feels very comfortable in front of an audience, but he's actually quite a competent singer, and not only was this fun, but also a very heartfelt moment when father and son both performed this song live.
I had to taste the wine, I'm homesick, and if you see me down, walk away, walk away. I hear it in your voice, I can hear it in your heart, If you wanna go now, oh then I'll let you go now, you don't have to stay. Sometimes I get tired, and I know you've got to find your way. I see it in the sky, I see it in your eyes. Thanks, Sean William.
So that was his son, William Collins. Edwyn himself was in great shape, I think. He sings all those songs practically like he did on in the past on the records. Maybe his voice is a little bit shaky here and there, but overall, this was just a joy to listen to. And I think also for Edwyn Collins himself, this was really not so much a sad occasion or one that made you regret that at least a live career, a performing career comes to an end, but it was more a celebration of his work. And that was also made clear by the second half of the official set list, which almost entirely consisted of Orange Juice songs, among them, for example, Consolation Prize, Intuition, In a Nutshell, and of course, maybe the highlight for me actually, that one song that almost seems to be a credo, also looking at Collins's own way back into more or less normal life. Rip It Up and Start Again.
When I first saw you, something stood within me. The sand is shutting in the rain. If I could have held you, I would have held you. Rip it up and start again. Rip it up and start again. Rip it up and start again. I hope to God I'm not as dumb as you made out. I hope to God, I hope to God, I hope to God I'm not as dumb as you made out. I hope to God, I hope to God.
Collins stood up for the final two songs in the official or regular set list. A very early single of his called Don't Shilly Shally, which really brought the house down. I have to admit I wasn't really familiar with this song, but boy, this was a really, really cool performance. And then inevitably the big hit, A Girl Like You. I openly admit I would have been okay in this case with the artist not playing his big hit in this concert, but of course with Edwyn Collins doing a final tour, it was clear that this would be on the set list, and hearing A Girl Like You always is a joy, especially if it is played live by the man himself. Yeah, great ending to the official set list. But
now you got cold calling on the floor, and I never met a girl like you before.
But Edwyn Collins and band really felt like playing that night and gave us an encore block of a full 4 songs. 2 more quiet, more acoustic songs. The absolutely beautiful Low Expectations from Gorgeous George. I wouldn't have expected to hear that song. It's a personal favorite of mine. And I'll be honest, that was the point when the maybe more nostalgic or a bit woeful part or aspect of this concert got to me. It was really moving. And after that, another early Edwyn Collins solo ballad, Home Again. But the concert ended on a more upbeat note with 2 more Orange Juice songs, 2 relatively fun party songs in the world of Orange Juice, Felicity and Blue Boy. And I think nobody went home from this concert feeling disappointed. What a worthy goodbye to the audience. What a worthy retreat from the stage by one of the great indie jangle pop singer-songwriters, Edwyn Collins, from, I hope I'm not mistaken, Edinburgh. If you have a vague interest in the music of Edwyn Collins, if you are a fan of indie guitar pop from the 80s and 90s and you happen to catch one of his final live dates in Europe, I really recommend to go and see Edwyn Collins and his band. far as the set list is concerned, I guess, or my educated guess is that the set list doesn't vary a lot, or maybe not at all, from concert to concert. Probably they play more or less the same set list every time, but it's basically a perfect set list. Maybe you've seen one of the other gigs. Maybe you've been to one of the UK dates of this final tour by Edwyn Collins. So let me know whether there was a different set list. But yeah, that was my concert experience with Edwyn Collins, Mr. Edwyn Collins, for certainly, very certainly, the very, very last time live. I miss the days when we had proper concert tickets, actually. Those are these print-at-home tickets. But anyways, thanks for watching. Support your live music venues. Let me know about live gigs you are looking forward to this year in 2026. And if you enjoyed this content, stay tuned for the next Murdock Music Minute. And if you didn't enjoy this content, why are you still watching?
What is left for you to do? 'Cause it's in the future, and it's nothing new. You've been down this road before, which is not to say you're bored, or that you shouldn't want more. It's just your expectations should be Lord. Road before, which is not to say you're bored, or that you shouldn't want more. It's just your expectations should be Lord.